Did you know that 37% of people believe a poorly delivered apology can actually harm a relationship more than the initial mistake? It's true. A half-hearted or insincere apology can deepen wounds instead of healing them. That's why today we're focusing on the art of apologizing, how to do it well, and why it matters so much in building and maintaining trust in your relationships. Welcome back to Love Unfiltered, the podcast where we dive deep into the heart of modern relationships. I'm Logan, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. This episode is all about a skill that's often overlooked but so essential for healthy relationships: the art of apologizing. Whether it's a small slip-up or a major mistake, knowing how to say "I'm sorry" in a way that truly matters can be the difference between healing and further hurt. We'll explore why apologizing is so powerful, what makes an apology genuine, and how to approach this delicate yet transformative process. So, if you've ever wondered how to make your apologies count, you're in the right place. I have invited students from diverse backgrounds to share their unique perspectives on love, relationships, and everything in between. Let's go around and meet everyone. Please state your name, classification, and major.
Mars Smith Amole, class of 2024, hospitality.
My name is Nyla Kinslow. I am a sophomore, graduate class of 2027, and I am an exercise science major.
All right. Thank you so much, you guys, for taking the time to be with me this morning.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
All right, let's get started. At its core, an apology is much more than just saying, "I'm sorry." It serves a deeper purpose in relationships, one that's essential for healing and moving forward. First and foremost, an apology is about rebuilding trust. When we hurt someone, intentionally or not, it can create a fracture in the relationship. A heartfelt apology shows accountability and a willingness to make amends, which is the first step toward repairing that trust. Next, it's about repairing emotional harm. When we hurt someone, it's not just about the action itself, it's about how it made them feel. A genuine apology acknowledges their pain and validates their feelings, which helps them begin to heal emotionally. Lastly, an apology fosters growth, both individually and within the relationship. Taking responsibility for our actions requires humility and self-awareness, and it opens the door for learning and improvement. For the relationship, it shows both parties that mistakes don't have to mean the end. They can be opportunities to grow stronger together. And when done sincerely, an apology can be incredibly powerful, transforming conflict into connection and turning a difficult moment into a chance for deeper understanding. Apologies, when delivered sincerely, have profound emotional and psychological benefits for both the person giving the apology and the one receiving it. What are your thoughts?
Oh, you go first, Nyla?
Yes, you can go.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So, whenever you apologize to somebody, it could be, like you said, it could be like a small or big thing. It really depends on like the situation. Like, for instance, if you break somebody's property, which means a lot to them, just saying sorry doesn't like really help unless you're meaning to pay for the damage you caused.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and if you were insulting somebody and you had no idea that wasn't your intention in the first place, just apologize for it and just try not to do it again. But for a person like me, that can be very difficult because a lot of people have a different perspective compared to mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I do everything in my power to show them that how sorry I really am not just saying it. You have to show empathy and follow boundaries. I mean, I'm good with boundaries as long as I know what they are, because I'm not really a mind reader.
Right.
And That's all I have to say. Like so far.
Okay.
I think that when it comes to apologizing, that especially in like a relationship, that it causes two conversations. The first conversation is acknowledging, like if you guys are had a situation where you're arguing or something like that. The first conversation is about is about talking about your actions in that situation and resolving that. And then the second conversation is for like after the situation is over and you talk about moving on. I feel like for apologizing, so what makes it sound more genuine is when you specifically point out points where you were in the wrong or where you could have handled where you could have said things differently, because one, that's showing that you're self-aware of what could have hurt your partner, and two, it shows that you're taking like initiative to like be better about it. Definitely just saying I'm sorry is really not enough. You definitely have to like really honestly really explain yourself and just be aware of like how it actually made the other person feel.
Right, right. I agree with that, honestly. It's like, it's not just about just saying, my bad, or I'm sorry that I did that, or just saying, I'm sorry. It's more like, you gotta explain what you're sorry for, and explain so that you can so that you can show the other person you're apologizing to that you understand what you did wrong, and you understand what you're apologizing for.
I also think that the words that you say in reference to apologizing also matter. Like how you just said, my bad. My bad is not a good apology. That is not a good apology at all. Especially if you're in a relationship, if you're just saying my bad, that does not show that you're actually sorry. You're just saying that.
Right. It's kind of like dismissive almost.
Right. Basically, yeah. Because when you're like, even though you're a partner, like you guys are cool or whatever, that's still like more than your friend. So you kind of have to really talk to them as such. So saying like I'm sorry or I apologize, it just has a lot more meaning than simply just saying, oh, my bad.
Right. Like my bad's more like a casual
thing
to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally feel like saying my bad. It's like more like strangers. And yes, like just saying that like this doesn't make it okay, because like if you do the same, if you do like the same thing again, you like say my bad. Yeah, it doesn't like generally sound like an apology.
I agree.
Yes. Yeah, so, okay. So also I forgot to mention in terms of like relationships, if you forget to like celebrate like the anniversary, that's like a whole. It's gonna need to take like a lot more than just an apology. The only like excuse that I could accept if somebody in your family is like sick or dying, or if someone who you love is like it's like sick or dying too, or if it's even you, but that doesn't matter. Like I'll be there, but I digress. So you're gonna have to like show that you're really sorry, and how is this relationship gonna go any further?
Right. Yeah. Definitely the actions after apologizing is matters almost more than the apology.
It's like where we take it from here. It's like where do we take it from there?
Right, exactly. And that's what I was saying about having the two conversations. Because like the first conversation is you discussing it and apologizing for it. And the second conversation is that, okay, what are we going to do now? Right. To, make the relationship like flourish and grow and make sure that, whatever happened in the past doesn't repeat again.
Right. Like, well, how do we learn from this?
Yeah, exactly.
Forward? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, we all like make mistakes as human beings, but at the same time, we have to we have to like put in like the work and make sure it doesn't like happen again. I mean, maybe you mess up again, maybe you won't. But as long as you're like being careful and like self-conscious, like being mindful, then that really is like the capacity.
I also feel that like with apologizing, it's really important that you know your partner, especially because the things that they do or the things that they could say comes from the environment that they grew up in, or like if they saw their parents doing it, or so on and so forth. So like, if say my partner has a habit of like, basically like, basically has a habit of like, oh, ignoring me whenever they're like upset, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that their parents, like that their mom or whatever, used to do the same thing to their dad. I'm gonna be a little bit more understanding because like that's what my partner knows is to like ignore your lover or whatever when you're like upset. So I just feel like things like that definitely kind of impact. I feel like the apology, because sometimes it's like, I know I mentioned before like taking the initiative and stuff, but I feel like in situations like those where you're like where the things that you grew up with or have saw like all those like negative traits kind of like are ingrained in you, and you start doing like showing those towards your partner, like it's definitely like important to like pay attention to that and then like tell them about it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. And honestly, I've run into people who've actually refused to apologize because they're just so stuck in thinking that they're right and they can possibly be wrong. Even if you tell them they're wrong and maybe they understand that they're wrong, maybe they don't care. They're not gonna apologize because their ego won't allow them to admit
Right.
that they were wrong. I've run into people like that, and yeah, I'm actually learning myself how to like. Well, I apologize a lot, but I feel like especially in a recent relationship, I feel like I have apologized for things I shouldn't have apologized for, just to like alleviate the like the anger and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I have found recently that making amends with people, like friends I have fallings out with,
Mm-hmm.
I found that making amends it does a lot. It does really help. And if that person is like, not only that, if you had a falling out with somebody and you apologize, that shows that you care about that relationship, and that person is more willing to like continue going forward with that relationship and fixing it,
Mm-hmm.
and healing from that trust that was broken. So that's what I've learned when it comes to apologizing.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
For me, I feel like I personally don't like apologies simply just because like most of the time like like whatever happened before is gonna happen again. So I personally don't really care for I'm sorry, which is why I feel like it's also so important that like for the action behind it to be pretty much like more than the apology. And then I also feel like how before you mentioned how ego gets in the way. If you're able to set aside your ego and your pride to really apologize, I feel like that makes it like more worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Which then also goes back to the action being really important. Because it's like, why say all these things if you don't mean it?
Right. Which also goes into like actions speak louder than words. So
Uh-huh.
like someone could say I'm sorry and then repeat the same action over and over again afterwards. So that's what I look for too, is the actions afterwards. After they say I'm sorry and explaining what they're apologizing for. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, for the person offering the apology, it's an opportunity to release feelings of guilt or regret. Taking responsibility for one's actions can be incredibly freeing, as it acknowledges the mistake and sets the stage for making things right. It also builds emotional maturity and fosters a deeper sense of self awareness. For the person receiving the apology, the benefits are equally significant. A meaningful apology validates their feelings and acknowledges the hurt they've experienced. This validation is essential for emotional healing, as it shows that their pain is seen and understood. An apology also helps to rebuild trust, reassuring the injured party that the relationship is valued and the mistake won't be ignored or repeated. On a psychological level, apologies can reduce tension and resentment between both parties, replacing negative emotions with a sense of closure and mutual respect. For relationships, this creates a stronger foundation for open communication and mutual understanding. In essence, a meaningful apology is a bridge. It connects people after conflict and allows both sides to heal and move forward with renewed trust and connection. What are your thoughts on that one?
I definitely, sorry, I definitely agree with how, like after apologizing and if everything, was done right and stuff, how it can improve like the relationship, especially when it comes to trust and stuff. And then I also feel like after like you've moved on and things have gotten better, I think it's also kind of important to like go back and then talk about like what had happened. So I feel like it kind of shows like the progress that you guys have made like with each other. Mm-hmm. Especially since like sometimes things can happen and you can get over it, and then like you can like kind of forget about it, and then something similar could happen later. I feel like it's important to like kind of go back and talk about it so that if it happens again, you'll know what to do basically.
Right.
Yeah, so I also agree as well, because whenever you apologize, you gotta find some humility in order to go through like forgiveness. Otherwise, you're not really like showing that you're really sorry, and things might get worse. And also, it's a way of maturity.
Mm-hmm.
It's because me personally, I had to like apologize for things that like I wasn't even sorry for, but I'm doing this for the sake of their being. So like I like to like keep peace. So it's just my main priority.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's all I'm thinking so far.
All right. Now let's see. A sincere apology is a powerful tool for healing. But to be effective, it needs certain essential elements. So let's break them down. 1. Acknowledgement of the harm caused. Begin by clearly recognizing what you did and how it affected the other person. This shows you understand their pain and validates their feelings. Here's an example. I realized that when I forgot our anniversary, it made you feel unimportant, and I deeply regret that. 2. Taking responsibility without excuses. Own your actions fully. Don't deflect or justify them. Avoid phrases like, "I'm sorry if you felt that way," as they can come across as dismissive. Here's an example. I was wrong to interrupt you during that conversation, and I shouldn't have dismissed your point of view. 3. Expressing genuine remorse. Let them know you genuinely regret your actions and the pain they caused. This should come from the heart, not as a formality. Here's an example. I feel terrible about how my actions hurt you. I truly regret what I did. 4. Offering amends or solutions to prevent future mistakes. Show you're committed to change by explaining how you'll avoid repeating this mistake. This helps rebuild trust. Here's an example. Going forward, I'll set reminders for special dates so I never forget again. 5. Asking for forgiveness. While not always necessary, seeking forgiveness can help bring closure and reaffirm the relationship. Here's an example. I hope you can forgive me for what I did, but I understand if it takes time. Now, here are some common mistakes to avoid. Fake apologies. Avoid saying, I'm sorry you feel that way, which shifts the blame onto the other person's reaction rather than your actions. Deflecting blame. Don't point fingers or say things like, I only did it because you. This undermines sincerity. Over explaining. While context can help, don't use it as an excuse to justify your behavior. Lack of follow through. An apology without action to back it up can come across as hollow and insincere. So, by including these essential elements and avoiding these pitfalls, you can ensure your apologies are meaningful and pave the way for healing and growth in your relationships. What are your thoughts?
Well, I personally went through a lot of things, a lot of circumstances regarding um, like apologizing, like really meaning it without making excuses. But for me personally, I have tried. People assume that I did like make excuses, but sometimes I had. But overall, I do it to like explain things, like just to like clarify things and like making things like plain, because I want people to understand like what's going on and why is is why. So I do like I have this like disability where my social communication skills are like repetitive without support. So that could be like a tough situation for me to be in a social environment. And another example is 10 years ago. I have like my two cousins, and one of them actually drew a picture of their sister as a duck and a mouse, and we kind of teased her about it like multiple times, and she just like get annoyed. Well, like we're all like just like it get on each other's nerves, like family. But then a few months ago, I actually like brought it up, and that's when I realized I crossed the line, and then I felt really bad, and I tried to comfort her, but she kind of pushed me away, and then I felt even like more bad, and then we had a conversation about it, and I realized that she was like being serious this time because we all getting on each other's nerves at times, like just family drama and stuff. But I realized that I crossed the line, and I promised her that I wouldn't like do it anymore and respect her wishes. And so uh, a few days ago of this Christmas, when I got together with my family, we're about to take a family picture. And then I said that her and her girlfriend have got to be in together. You got to stay together, like Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. And then she told me to not start with her. Then I was confused for a second there. I didn't know what she was talking about. And then she said, "Don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about." I said, "I don't." And then we started talking. I was like, "No. I wasn't comparing you. Like I wasn't talking about your body. This has nothing to do with your body. I was talking about you and your girlfriend. You got to be together in the picture, like Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. Because if you remember in like Toy Story 3, at the end when Andy gives his toys to the little girl, he says, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head got to stay together because they're madly in love. That's what I was trying to reference, but she wouldn't believe me, and then I was like getting frustrated, and she told me that don't let it be a sign to get your way out of this. But I understand that actions speak louder than words, and that's also my curse because my actions are like unexpected by people, which makes it even more complicated to be to be in society. So at least I have my family who just like stands me like mostly. So anyway, while I was like having my private time, I heard a bit of a conversation like going on with my cousin and her girlfriend, and she said that she wouldn't like mind being compared to like Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. Yeah, I wasn't talking. I wasn't like talking about like their body. This has nothing to do with their parents. I'm talking about like couples.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but whatever became after that, we just like forgot about it. We didn't even like bring it up again. So I'm just like concerned about what's going to happen in the future. And I also got to mention that I did not gonna lie, I did say I'm sorry that you feel that way. But then my cousin told me that's not an apology, which I was I'm totally aware of, because like saying that is just an excuse just to get away with it. But I mean, why would I be sorry about comparing my cousin and her girlfriend to like like a popular like couple?
I think it's more so like she thought her what she thought was that you were saying that they were like round and big, like heavy women because the potatoes are kind of like round and stuff. And so she, felt some type of way about it. Now you did your part in explaining what you meant, but how she took it was different. And so you just apologize. Um, I don't know. That's complicated because, like, you don't want to say, I'm sorry that you feel that way because that's like the dismissive thing. But what would you say you could say instead if you were apologizing to someone for, in a situation like that?
I feel like a situation like that is definitely kind of hard, especially because, like, Mar had already explained why he had said that, and I get like she didn't believe him. So I guess really, I guess what you could do is, I don't know, maybe apologize again, and then like explain yourself again, but then be like, oh, I recognize like why you thought like what you thought.
Yeah.
And then just say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to give off that I was talking about your weight. I do apologize. I recognize that is a poor choice of words.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much that's kind of really it. I feel like with apologies, because one, they don't have like the other person does not have to accept your apology. But two, I feel like if you can explain yourself in a way that's not making excuses and they still don't like accept it, it's kind of one of those things where you really just gotta like kind of move on, really, because it's like you did apologize and then you did explain it, and if they didn't accept your apology, you really just have to like move on and I guess try and show them, like pretty much just become different, not different, but like I guess improve for next time. But sometimes it can be very hard.
Right. Or maybe not improve, but like think about what you say before you say it. Because like what you say might offend somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, these are the things that cause me to like overthink, because like there are lots of choices that I made that I'm not proud of, and whenever I focus on it like real hard, like not for it to happen again, and something else like worse or similar happens, and it's just like it's just frustrating.
Yeah. All right, now we're going to learn about how to apologize in different contexts. Apologies are vital in all types of personal relationships. You got romantic, familial, and friendships, because they serve as a foundation for trust, respect, and emotional intimacy. So let's explore how apologies play a role in these different dynamics. In a romantic relationship, apologies can strengthen the emotional bond by showing vulnerability and a willingness to prioritize the relationship over ego. When conflicts arise, sincere apologies help partners move past hurt feelings and move toward solutions together. For example, acknowledging a mistake like forgetting an important date or saying something hurtful shows your partner that their feelings matter. Family relationships. Now, apologies in family dynamics often carry deep weight because they involve long term connections that are central to one's identity. Whether it's apologizing to a sibling for a childhood grudge or owning up to mistakes with a parent or child, heartfelt apologies can heal old wounds and restore harmony within the family. They show that you value the relationship over being right. Friendships. In friendships, apologies can be the difference between mending a rift or losing the connection entirely. A friend who takes responsibility for their actions, such as canceling plans last minute or saying something inconsiderate, demonstrates that the friendship is worth preserving. Apologies can also create an environment of mutual respect and understanding, ensuring the bond can withstand challenges. So, across all these relationships, the key is sincerity. A genuine apology fosters growth and closeness, no matter the type of connection. Whether it's your partner, a family member, or a friend, taking responsibilities and showing care can transform moments of conflict into opportunities for deeper connection. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't actually never like been like through like a whole like much of that. Well, you gotta like emphasize with like one another and like make sure that you're like apologizing to them like for the right reasons, not for also like for small reasons too. But I'm not sure if that's like not much of a big deal. It just depends on the situation. But nevertheless, like accountability is it's like the main importance.
I think that like I feel like it's kind of almost like harder to apologize when it comes to like family and friends. Well, maybe not harder, but I definitely feel like it is different. Just because when it comes to like friends and like relationships, there's a higher chance of like that whole like the whole thing to like break and fall apart versus like family, just because of the whole like family is important. You guys are always gonna stick together, tight vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you definitely have to be a little bit more delicate when it comes to friends and like relationships, especially if like the relationship is kind of already like rocky or it's not the best because it could just end at any time. Whereas like family, it's definitely harder to cut off family. So you kind of have more of a chance like there, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Like friends come and go. Family is always going to be there. So like your friendships are most likely going to end a lot more easily than family connections.
Yeah, apart from my generalization of what I just said, yes, whenever you like have like friends, it needs to like take like more work. Like when I said emphasizing like one another, yes, you need to like emphasize and synthesize, take accountability and make sure that you're like there for them, no matter what. And also well, for a family, on the other hand, is like I would like try to make a few like changes, like if it's not nothing like too pressurized for you.
Mm-hmm. I guess for me, like this one friendship that I had, I made a mistake we kind of like took like a little small break to kind of like let our anger and our resentment towards one another kind of like, decrease and go away so that when we came back together to talk about what happened, we wouldn't have as much anger and the emotions would be kind of like down a little bit, so we wouldn't end up like talking over one another or yelling. We would talk more calmly, and that's what we did. And when we came back together and talked, like I think 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, um, the conversation went very well. Like it was very calm. We listened to one another. We didn't interrupt as much as we could. Maybe might have how we talked at the moment that we wanted to, and we're still friends now because, that conversation showed that, what, we can continue this relationship. And so, yeah, that's what I would say about friendships. And then, like, I guess for the romantic relationships, I think acknowledging mistakes and or maybe if you said something hurtful, that can make your partner feel better. And I didn't get a lot of that in my second relationship. So, I'm definitely like, if that's, when I am in a relationship again, that's something that I would definitely look for from my partner. And then that's what I also give back.
Yes, when I was in my second relationship, whenever it's a long story, so I'm just gonna like make it like pretty short. You may be confused, but ask me questions where you need to understand. So when things ended unexpectedly due to like miscommunication, yes. So we tried to like come to get to like closure and all. I decided to like move on. Like I'm done. And then she keeps saying that she's sorry. I don't really know if she's like sorry or anything. I forgive her, but yeah, but I'm done. Like I'm moving on. Like I'm moving on, and there's nothing like there like anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and so even if they're not sorry or not, one things I learned is that you gotta like forgive them, not for them, but for you, so you can like move on with your life.
I definitely agree with that.
Yes, and oh, let's see. Oh yes, another thing was my first relationship. My first relationship. Yes, my ex did say sorry to me like a few times. I did forgive some things, but there were too many red flags that I ignored, and when she crossed the line, and I did forgive her, but I don't know what I was doing. I really should have broken up with her that time and stayed broken up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but I was only 15 at the time.
Right. When you're younger, you just gotta gain that experience over time.
Yeah, true. But trust me, I went through so many like experiences, and that says a lot because I've been around like the world for years.
Mm-hmm. Now, apologizing to your family, your friends, and your romantic partner is completely different from how to apologize at work. So we're gonna go over that piece because it's completely different in the professional system. One, acknowledge the mistake clearly and concisely. Avoid long winded explanations or defensive language. Instead, state the issue directly. Here's an example. I realized I missed a deadline for the client report and it caused delays for the team. 2. Take responsibility without shifting blame. Own your actions and avoid making excuses. This shows maturity and accountability. Example. This was my oversight and I should have managed my time better. 3. Express genuine regret. Show that you understand the impact of your mistake and genuinely regret the inconvenience caused. Example, I'm truly sorry for any extra stress this caused the team. 4. Offer solutions or amends. Explain how you plan to correct the mistake or prevent it from happening again. This demonstrates proactivity. Example, to ensure this doesn't happen again, I've set up a new system to track deadlines more effectively. And finally, 5, move forward confidently. After apologizing, focus on solutions and delivering results. This reinforces your professionalism and ability to handle challenges. But what should you avoid? Over apologizing. Saying I'm sorry excessively can make you appear less confident. Instead, focus on a single, sincere acknowledgement. Blame shifting. Avoid statements like, I didn't get the information in time, as they can come across as deflecting responsibility. Emotional overload. Keep your apology professional and solution oriented, avoiding overly emotional or dramatic language. When done right, A professional apology demonstrates integrity and strengthens trust with colleagues, managers, and clients. It shows you're willing to learn from mistakes while remaining a competent and reliable professional. What are your thoughts?
So back in our freshman year, I was at a different school. So I saw all of these guys who were like hanging out at this lounge and they're doing like funny and silly things. And then I did kind of like join in, but it was at the wrong time. So the good news is that the guy who I did it to, like he was okay with it, but it was at the wrong time. So okay, so I had this donut, and then I spread the glaze on his forehead, like Rafiki did to Simba. I was trying to do the same thing, and then he was like, "Not cool, dude." And then the witness told me to walk away. And then I felt so bad. I felt so bad. I did try to apologize like multiple times because I had so much anxiety inside of me. Oh my gosh, I felt so bad. I was like, not good, not good. I was like, oh, I was like, I must have gone too far. And then at the end, like I said, the guy who I did it to, him and I are cool, but the witness like isn't. I mean, he's like pretty rude, but it had nothing to do with him. So yeah, I kind of some things like kind of like made me feel like a weakling. But you know what? At least I went through the experience to understand. So nevertheless, yeah, I understand like there's certain times when I do like such things, and there's certain times when like not to do those things. But even if you like mess up, like still apologize, but don't like keep apologizing like a hundred times. Just like say you're sorry, and just like walk away. And for my family, yes, I did something to my cousin when we were kids. So he let me borrow his DS, and then I made an impulsive like decision. I don't know why I did it. I removed the Mario stickers from his DS, and then he was upset about it. I did try to say I'm sorry, but then my grandma said to me that she said, "No, you're not sorry." And then I was offended that she said that to me because I genuinely meant it, because I would never do anything to like intentionally like upset my cousin, because he's like my best friend. So we were like the closest out of like most of our family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask, Nye, what do you think?
To what Marja said, or
About
what you guys said?
the general topic of this section.
I was thinking that I feel like when it comes to apologizing in a work setting, I feel like it's definitely more like I feel like it's more risky on your part. Or not necessarily more risky, but I definitely feel like it's one of those things that if not done well, like it could actually cost you.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because like say you're at a very successful company or whatever, that's like top level type stuff, and you make a really bad mistake, and like you apologize for it, but who like the boss or whatever didn't accept your apology, and like ends up firing you, like you could end up blackballed pretty much.
Right.
And I feel like that could cost you pretty much your career, which is something that's really hard to kind of rebuild from. I feel like in that kind of situation versus like apologizing to like people like not in a work setting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, just pretty much was like you definitely have to be really careful when it comes to work settings, just because that's how you're making your money. That's what's helping you like survive basically.
Mm-hmm.
And while having that social life like is important too, and so you obviously want to make sure your apologies count when it comes to that. When it comes to like your career and stuff like that, I don't want to necessarily say it's more important, but it is important in a different way, because that could really like make or break you basically.
Right. All right. Let's see. Mara, is there anything else you want to add real quick?
I think that's Oh wait. Actually, I also got to mention is that whenever you like missing an assignment from like class, yeah, I would recommend you ask your professor is there anything like you can do for like extra credit because that's the way that you're willing to commit to your assignments and show that the professor that you like really care. But even though professors like really don't like so, like most of them like really don't care. Like they just like pass or fail you.
And I want to piggyback on that because for me, I had a professor where I like didn't do a lot of like I didn't do like 5 to 6 assignments and they all got zeros for it. And I was like, okay, finals are done, but grades aren't in. And I'm looking at my grade and then I looked at my GPA and I was like, oh my gosh, I needed to like be above a 3.3 because like I'm an honor student. And my mom told me just email the professor, tell her, you understand that you have like these assignments that were missing and just ask if you could have some leeway and she could reopen them because grades aren't in yet. So that's what I did. I emailed her and guess what? She responded and said, you know what, Logan, because you did so well in like the second half of the semester with assignments, I'm going to go ahead and reopen these for you, but you got 24 hours. When I tell you I got those assignments in within like an hour, bro, I was like, yes. And my GPA went up to a 3.5. I was like, thank you. So, um, the lesson in that is just reach out because you might have a professor who's willing to reopen them for you if you just like show that you made a mistake and explain that, and they're probably more than willing to reopen that for you. Honestly, it honestly does depend on the professor though. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, by the way, one last thing I wanted to mention is that whenever you're like apologizing, for instance, when you're arriving like late to work, and then you have to like call your boss and let them know that you're running late, and just like apologize for what's going on, and try something else to make sure that you won't be like late again. And if a customer is like upset, then don't only apologize. Try to commit to make them feel satisfied with their experience.
Yeah.
Social or public apologies are often necessary when a mistake affects a wider audience, such as customers, followers, or the general public. These apologies require careful consideration to demonstrate accountability while preserving credibility. Here's when and how to address a larger audience effectively. When to make a public apology. Number one, when the impact is wide reaching. If your actions or decisions affect a large group, such as customers or stakeholders, a public apology is often necessary to address concerns. Two, when trust or reputation is a risk or is at risk. If the mistake damages your brand or personal image, a prompt apology can help mitigate further harm. And three, when transparency is expected. For public figures or organizations, addressing issues openly can demonstrate honesty and integrity. Now, how to make a public apology. 1. Acknowledge the mistake clearly. So make sure you explicitly state that what went wrong without minimizing the issue. Here's an example. We recently made a decision that caused frustration among our customers and we want to address it directly. 2. Take full responsibility. Don't deflect blame or make any excuses. Example, this was a misstep on our part and we take full responsibility for the oversight. 3. Express sincere regret. Here's an example. We deeply regret the inconvenience this has caused and understand your frustration. 4. Explain steps for resolution. Clearly outline the actions you're taking to fix the problem and prevent further occurrences. 5. Close with a commitment to do better. End with a pledge to rebuild trust and improve moving forward. Here are common mistakes to avoid. Vague apologies. Avoid phrases like mistakes were made, which can feel insincere or evasive. Blame shifting. Don't redirect blame onto others or external factors. Finally, lack of follow-up. Public apologies, when handled thoughtfully, can turn a negative situation into an opportunity to show accountability, care, and a commitment to improvement. What are your thoughts?
Yes. So I don't often do like public speaking, but if I was to do that, I would address the situation and emphasize what all these people are like feeling, and like what my thoughts be like for this, and what can I do to like change this and make things better. But it's not going to be easy, but not impossible at least.
I feel like public apologies, especially to a large crowd of people, I feel like out of all the kinds of apologies, I feel like they're the hardest just because the lack of like, I don't want to say like intimacy, but like the lack of like that one-on-one makes it really hard for it to like, I guess, kind of have an impact basically, just because it's so many people that you're apologizing to. So that's so many different reactions, like, thoughts and feelings and stuff. So I definitely, and there's definitely always going to be like people in the crowd that aren't going to accept your apology. So I definitely feel like it's one of those things where it's like you can apologize, acknowledge what you did wrong, say what you can improve on.
Yeah.
But after you kind of just have to leave it. Oh, I was just saying, like, after that, you kind of just have to like move on, really.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. All right, now there are, you have your things that you can do when apologizing, but there are challenges that come with apologizing. Saying I'm sorry can be challenging for many reasons, so we're going to explore why apologizing can feel so difficult. 1, fear of rejection or negative reactions. One of the biggest barriers to apologizing is the fear that the other person might not accept the apology or forgive us. This fear of rejection can make people hesitate to acknowledge their mistakes, as it opens them up to potential criticism or conflict. Apologizing requires vulnerability, and there's always a risk that the other person may not respond positively, which can feel emotionally daunting. 2, pride and ego. This is a big one. Pride often stands in the way of a sincere apology. Admitting fault can feel like losing power or control, especially for individuals who associate apologies with weakness. For some, apologizing may challenge their self-image or as someone who doesn't make mistakes, making it difficult to take responsibility. 3, guilt and shame. Apologizing means confronting the guilt and shame associated with one's actions, which can be uncomfortable. Instead of facing these emotions, people may avoid apologizing altogether. Shame, in particular, can make individuals feel unworthy or deeply flawed, leading to defensive behavior rather than an apology. 4, fear of making things worse. Some people avoid apologizing because they worry it could reopen wounds or intensify the conflict. They may fear saying the wrong thing or making the situation more complicated. 5, lack of skills or awareness. In some cases, people don't know how to apologize effectively. They may worry about getting it wrong or believe that their actions weren't significant enough to warrant an apology. So how do you overcome the barriers to apologizing? Recognize the value. Understand that apologizing is not a sign of weakness, but of strength and emotional maturity. This is one I always talk about and try to tell people all the time. Focus on the relationship. Prioritize the health of a relationship over your pride or fear. Prepare thoughtfully. Reflect on what you want to say and approach the conversation with sincerity and humility. And finally, accept imperfection. Remember, no one is perfect, and admitting mistakes is part of being human. Not acknowledging why apologizing is hard can help us work through these challenges and foster deeper, more meaningful connections. What are your thoughts?
I definitely think that when it comes to apologizing and when you're like practicing or apologizing, it's definitely important that you're self-aware enough to know how to push like your feelings aside when it comes to like apologizing.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like it's kind of important, like in growth, to kind of let yourself feel that like guilt and that shame, like to let yourself feel these negative emotions, but not enough to like it like leaves a lasting effect, but enough for like it to get you thinking. That way, you can like get rid of it and like improve.
Right.
So I feel like feeling those negative emotions definitely is like helpful towards like growth, but also being self-aware enough to know that that you're feeling those kind of emotions is also like important too.
Yeah, I agree, honestly. Let's see. I think a good one is the fear of rejection or negative reactions. Like I mentioned before, I have struggled many times with apologizing because I was scared that I was going to get backlash, or they were going to lash out at me, or wasn't going to go in a positive way, but more like wasn't going to be in my favor when it comes to being positive, a positive outcome. Um, in my second relationship, um, I would say that my ex struggled with apologizing to me, and also to everybody in his life because of his pride and his ego. I think that growing up, he thought that, or he was made to think that apologizing is a weakness, because you're opening yourself up, you're making yourself vulnerable to others, and I feel like he probably has made himself vulnerable to others and they took advantage of that. Or it's kind of like that toxic masculinity thing where you don't want to be seen as weak, you want to have all that control and all that power, so you just don't apologize, because if you do, you lose that power and control. And also self-image, he really cared about his how other people saw him, or his self-image. And so if he admits that he's wrong, that makes him look bad, and he didn't want to look bad to anybody even though he was in the wrong. So um let's see, that's what I gotta say about that though.
Yeah, so I don't have like much of a comment because everything that Nala said, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm. All right. Overcoming the barriers to apologizing requires intentional effort, emotional growth, and sometimes even practice. Here are a few strategies that can help break down these emotional walls and make saying I'm sorry feel more natural and less intimidating. 1. Practice empathy building exercises. Put yourself in their shoes. Take a moment to reflect on how the other person may have felt due to your actions. Imagining their emotions can help reduce the fear of rejection and develop a deeper understanding of the impact your actions had. Journaling. Write about the situation from the other person's perspective. This exercise can help you gain clarity and strengthen your ability to empathize. Empathy mapping. Create an empathy map that explores the other person's feelings, needs, and desires. This visual tool can help you better connect emotionally and offer a more genuine apology. 2. Role playing tough conversations. Practice with a trusted friend or therapist. Rehearse what you plan to say in a calm, controlled environment with someone who can offer feedback. Role playing with a trusted person can help you work through difficult emotions and refine your approach before the real conversation. Visualization techniques. Before apologizing, visualize yourself apologizing and receiving a positive response. This can reduce anxiety and boost your confidence in the conversation. Scripted apologies. Writing down your apology ahead of time can help structure your words, especially if you tend to get nervous or sidetracked in a difficult conversation. Once you have a script, try delivering it aloud, either alone or to a trusted person until it feels natural. 3. Build self-compassion. Challenge perfectionism. Understand that making mistakes is part of being human. Let go of the belief that apologizing will make you seem weak or inadequate. Shift your focus to the growth that comes from recognizing your imperfections. Self-affirmations. Use positive affirmations to remind yourself that apologizing is an act of emotional strength. Remind yourself that it's a tool for healing and improving relationships, not a reflection of personal failure. 4. Reframe your perspective on apologies. See apologies as an opportunity for connection. Instead of viewing apologies as a loss of power, try seeing them as an opportunity to strengthen your bond with others. Apologies create space for deeper understanding and emotional growth, both for you and the other person. Focus on the bigger picture. Shift your mindset from worrying about the immediate discomfort of apologizing to focusing on the long-term benefits of restored trust, healing, and connection. And finally, 5, start small and build confidence. If apologizing in big, difficult situations feel overwhelming, start with smaller, less emotionally charged scenarios. Practice saying, "I'm sorry," in everyday interactions where the stakes aren't as high. As you get more comfortable, you'll build confidence for tougher conversations. What we learned from this is by practicing these strategies, you can gradually overcome the emotional barriers to apologizing. Whether through empathy building exercises, role playing, or shifting your perspective, you'll find that sincere apologies become a powerful tool for improving relationships and personal growth. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, definitely like put yourself in somebody else's shoes, and that'll like most likely like get you to understand their point of view and like what they go through and see why they are why they are why they are the way they are, and like don't think like apologizing like makes you weak. It doesn't actually make you weak. It shows that you could be you can be like trusted, and which actually trust like revolves like empowerment. Being too trusting could actually like be kind of like a little suspicious, but I digress.
I definitely think that putting your changing your perspective to the other person definitely helps with apologizing, because it's kind of just like, oh well, if this happened to me, what would I expect the other person to say? And then from there, I feel like it makes it easier to like form your own apology. I do feel like practicing is definitely more important, even if not with another person, like by yourself. That way, just like you have all your thoughts like out, and you're just forming what to say. And like I said before, like letting yourself feel like the negative emotions surrounding apologizing is important with like aiding in your personal growth, but definitely don't let it like consume you, because then that's also going to affect like how you feel about apologizing in general, and that would also affect your apologizing, like your apologies like in the future as well.
Yeah, I agree with all that, honestly. I like all the exercises that they gave us. The empathy building exercise, the role playing tough conversations. Honestly, I've actually I've done all of those, all these exercises I've done as of recently, because I was like having, like I said, I had an issue with one friendship, but I really really cared about that friendship and that person because they were like a genuine friend, and I was like, yeah, I need to fix this because I don't want to lose that friend. Like, that's a genuine person I want to keep in my circle. And so I was like, okay, I need to self-reflect. I need to, like, go back, remember what happened, what occurred between us, how did I cause the issues, how did they hurt me in turn, and what could I do better? You know, what could I've done? What could I've done better in that moment to have prevented that from happening? And then also, how can I apologize for it and do better moving forward? And so, I think I put myself in their shoes, and then I role played the apologizing conversation with a trusted friend. I ranted to her. I told her what happened, and she gave me her feedback, and I was like, okay, how I think I was gonna apologize this way. And we just talked about it for hours, and we ranted about it for days, and then that helped me kind of figure out how I was gonna apologize. And not only that, I told myself, you know what, it's okay, it's good to apologize, because I already made amends with an ex friend of mine. I was like, you can do this. You can do this. If you did that, you can do this. And it worked. And now we're still friends. So that's what I learned from it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, here are some practical tips for making apologies count. Timing and tone are crucial when delivering an apology, as they can significantly impact how your message is received. So, with timing, choose the right moment. Timing is key to ensuring that your apology has the desired effect. Avoid apologizing in the heat of the moment when emotions are high. That's what I said before, remember, guys?
Yeah.
As it may come across as insincere or rushed. Instead, wait for a calmer, more appropriate time when both parties can have an open, honest conversation. Consider the context. Be mindful of the other person's emotional state. If they are still upset or processing the situation, give them space and time before offering an apology. Conversely, delaying an apology too long can cause frustration, as it may seem like you aren't taking responsibility. Tone. Be sincere and humble. Your tone should reflect genuine remorse and a willingness to make amends. Avoid a defensive or indifferent tone, as this can make the apology seem forced or superficial. And finally, stay calm and respectful. Keep your tone calm and respectful, no yelling, no interrupting, even if the situation was emotionally charged. This helps maintain the focus on resolution rather than escalating the conflict further. By choosing the right timing and delivering your apology with sincerity and respect, you increase the likelihood of healing the situation and rebuilding trust. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, so I definitely agree with like everything you said. So whenever there's a situation going on, it's best to wait a little bit, like get your emotions out, and then like wait for a time when it's like appropriate, when it's like calmer, and then that's when you start to sort things out. But make sure you're listening, not just hearing them, but make sure that you're listening to everything they're saying, and try to emphasize with them, and then try to like apologize on your part. But before that, try to explain like on your part without making any excuses. Just like clarify what's going on, because you want to make things like plain. But after that, apologize for what you did to make them feel that way, and why you are sorry, and come up with some like resolution, and like no need for like cursing or like screaming at one another, because like you said, it's gonna escalate things like even worse. But in the end, like try to like set some boundaries.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure your apology is worded in a way that doesn't actually make the situation worse and doesn't make the person feel worse than they already feel, because then that just makes the whole thing worse and it won't be better.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I want to add to the real quick to the previous section. after the situation happened, I when I did my self reflecting, I realized, what I did was extremely wrong, and I felt so bad about it. Like, I felt so guilty, and that's what made me scared was the guilt, because I was like, I understand how I've hurt this person, and I was scared that the friendship was going to end, and I felt so terrible because I could understand from their point of view how I made them feel, and I was like, bro, I can't believe I made a person I genuinely care about feel that way. And I was like, I feel so bad. And so that's honestly, like, that was a big thing that I focused on when it came to my self-reflecting in that moment. um and in this situation, and what we're discussing now, like I said, choose the right moment. I think, you know we didn't I didn't I personally, he wanted to, he wanted to talk about it, like, kind of right away, and but I could tell he was, like, really mad still, like, all that pent up emotion was still there. It was still very apparent. I had some resentment towards him as well, and I was like, I don't think it's a good idea. I kept thinking about it. I was like, if we talk about this right now, we're probably gonna end up screaming, probably gonna end up interrupting one another, and it's probably gonna make the situation much worse, and we're probably gonna end up stop being friends. So I was like, I think we should take a moment to just take a little break. We were still talking every now and then, of course, because we're friends. But we just took a break from that situation to calm ourselves and self-reflect and the journaling and all these things, and then come back, and that's exactly what we did. And um I think we may have delayed the apology too long, kind of, because I did start to feel I started to get the frustration from him. Like, he was like, okay, can we talk about it? And that was my mistake, but I really wanted to wait to give us time to kind of, like, let that tension alleviate itself. And the tone, stay calm, respectful, sincere, and humble. That's exactly what we did, and it worked. So all these tips and stuff is good tips. It really is.
Yeah, I definitely really agree with the whole, like, keeping, like, creating, like, space to let you guys, like, pretty much calm down before coming it back together. Because, like, when you're running high off, like, emotions, especially something when it's like anger or frustration, it's really hard for really anything to get, like, any productive conversations to happen, just because you're so run off, like, emotions. So definitely, like, taking time and then coming back is really important, because it also gives you time to think.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, active listening is an essential part of delivering a meaningful apology. It involves fully focusing on the other person's words, emotions, and needs without interrupting or planning your response while they speak. This shows respect and allows the other person to feel heard and understood, which is vital for emotional healing. So, as we have talked about in previous episodes, active listening is a key element. Give your full attention, put away all your distractions, maintain eye contact, show through body language that you are focusing on them, acknowledge your feelings, nod, or, offer a brief verbal acknowledgement, like, I understand, or I see how that could hurt. Don't interrupt, of course, self-explanatory, and clarify and reflect. If needed, paraphrase what they've said to confirm understanding. For example, it sounds like you felt abandoned when I didn't show up. Active listening shows that you genuinely care about the other person's feelings and creates an open space for dialogue, which helps restore trust and deepen the connection in your relationship. Now, following up is a crucial step in making that apology meaningful and demonstrating your commitment to a change. You need to follow up, right? Demonstrate accountability. Actions speak louder than words, so follow up with your promise that you made in your apology. Rebuild trust. If the person you've apologized to sees that you are making genuine efforts to change, it helps rebuild trust over time and prevent future mistakes. Taking steps to avoid repeating the same mistake helps demonstrate that you've reflected on the issue and are making lasting changes. Now, how to follow up effectively. Implement changes. If your apology involved a specific action, then make sure to take concrete steps to address the issue. Check in regularly. Revisit the conversation after some time to see how the other person is feeling and to reinforce that you are committed to doing better. Ask for feedback. Let the other person know that you're open to hearing about any ongoing concerns or feelings. This helps to maintain an open, evolving dialogue. In essence, follow up on your apology with consistent, positive actions which will show that you are truly committed to learning, growing, and improving the relationship. What are your thoughts?
To be heard is definitely to be seen. So I feel like it comes to active listening. That right there is really how you're like strengthening the relationship. Because I feel there's nothing more frustrating than you trying to talk to somebody and you're saying all these things and then they just turn around and say something completely like unrelated or that has nothing to do with what you said. Because it's almost as if like you didn't listen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you're not listening to the other person, then the relationship is just going to fail. Because you're pretty much just doing what you want to do and not taking the other person into consideration.
Right. I think in my second relationship, honestly, when I would like confront my ex about something, he would like do this thing that really irritated me, where he would ask me, when have I ever done that? and people say that when people ask you that question, it for some reason literally erases your brain's memory of the times when they have done a behavior that you dislike. And that is a tactic that narcissists will do because it gets you thinking and it pauses your thought process. You're like, and then you really think about it, and then if you don't think fast enough, you're like, yeah, exactly. See how you couldn't think of a scenario where I've done that before. And so honestly, like, don't do stuff like that. Like, just listen and understand what they're saying. Don't go verbatim. Don't go back and forth. Just like listen and understand what you did wrong, that they're telling you what you did wrong, and just try to understand it from their point of view and just apologize.
Yeah, especially because like sometimes like you're not like not everyone is self-aware. So you could be doing things that you didn't even realize you were doing. And so when someone's like telling you about yourself, it's definitely really important to really like pay attention and listen to that. Because that's how like growth happens. And I feel like if you aren't willing to listen to the other person when they're telling you about yourself, you're definitely like, it definitely gives like immature and kind of like stuck up in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, it's like, oh, you do no wrong when in reality, you've done a lot wrong.
Right.
So that's just kind of just one of the things where it's like, I guess that's where that ego comes in, but you have to like push aside to listen to what the other person is saying.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So whenever you're like I'm trying to like make the apology and if things have been going along like pretty good, and you like tend to make the same mistake, even though you didn't mean to do that. Yeah, but try to use like some of your words. Like, I know that, like I said, actions speak louder than words, but try to use your words and what you learn, what you tried to do. But if it still didn't work out, then just try again. But they don't guarantee that they're gonna be patient with you. But if they're not as patient with you, you're gonna have to accept it and move on.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, because I have lost some friendships throughout my life, and I had I had tried to force them like back. I mean, I wouldn't like force people to come back. I just wanted to put things back to how they were. But I learned that I can't control everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'd like to invite my wonderful guests to share your personal experiences with an apology that truly made a difference in your lives. Whether it's an apology that you gave or received, the impact it had, and how it has contributed to healing and growth. So let's hear their stories and gain some insight into how powerful a well delivered apology can be. So, who'd like to go first?
You go first.
Okay. I'm trying to think with. I've been a minute since I feel like I've received an apology or given one really. I do think there was one time where like there was a lot of miscommunication going on between me and the other person, and because of the miscommunication, it left like pretty much just a lot of negative emotions and like both of us. But when we actually sat down and like talked about it, like I was the one that apologized because I was kind of in the wrong. And basically, I just said like, I apologize. I acknowledge what I did was like what I did that was wrong. And then I did explain how like why I said what I said, like why I reacted the way that I did. Because I feel like also explaining yourself is also important too, to like help the other person see like your thought process kind of. And then the last thing I did was pretty much like say like how I was gonna like pretty much improve basically. And from there, the communication kind of just got better. It wasn't like the best, but it still was better than it was before. And the conversation, it was a really good, productive conversation. And like it definitely dissolved the issue, like then and there, basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes. So, yes, like I said, whenever I apologize, yeah, I make sure that I mean it and make sure that something doesn't like happen again. But I am willing to see things from your point of view and to communicate with you. But like I said, I haven't had like a lot of relationships, but I knew in life when to like acknowledge like somebody's like feelings. Like what would happen if the same thing happened to me, like in that situation.
Right. All right. I would like to thank my guests for sharing your powerful stories. What makes an apology truly impactful is not just the words spoken, but the genuine intention behind them and the actions that follow. And from my guest experience, we can learn several key lessons about what makes an apology effective. One, acknowledging the impact. One of the most impactful elements of the apology shared was the acknowledgement of the harm caused. The person didn't just apologize for the mistake, they recognized how it affected the other person's emotions and well-being. Acknowledging the full impact of your actions shows empathy and validates the other person's feelings. 2. Taking responsibility. Our guest emphasized how the apology was meaningful because it involved full responsibility without making excuses. It wasn't just about justifying the actions, but owning up to the mistake, which helped rebuild the trust. This is crucial. When you take responsibility, it shows maturity and integrity. 3. Follow-up actions. The apology didn't end with words. The person took concrete steps to ensure the mistake wouldn't happen again. This follow-through not only restored faith in the relationship, but also demonstrated a commitment to change. It's a reminder that an apology isn't a one-time thing. It's a part of a continuous effort to improve and grow. 4. Timing and sincerity. Timing also played a role. It was given when the other person was ready to listen, and it was delivered with sincerity. When the apology is timed right and the tone is genuine, it opens the door to healing. So, what can listeners learn? Apologies are a tool for healing and growth, not just resolving conflict. By acknowledging the harm, taking responsibility, acting with sincerity, and following through, we can mend relationships and make them stronger. A well-timed, heartfelt apology can not only repair trust, but also show a deep commitment to personal growth and understanding. Let's take a moment to recap the key points we've covered in today's episode. The anatomy of a good apology. Acknowledgement of the harm, taking responsibility, genuine remorse, offering amends, and asking for forgiveness. The importance of a good apology. A sincere apology can heal emotional wounds, restore trust, and foster personal growth. It's not just about fixing the current situation, it's about building a stronger relationship and showing your emotional maturity. Practical tips for success. Timing and tone is everything. Choose the right moment to apologize and deliver it with sincerity. Active listening. After apologizing, allow the other person to express their feelings without interrupting. Then follow up. Show through your actions that you've learned from the situation and you are committed to change. A well-crafted apology can be a powerful tool for healing, whether in personal, professional, or public contexts. It can repair relationships, foster deeper understanding, and ultimately help both parties grow. As we wrap up today's episode, I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on your own apology practices. Think about the last time you apologized. Was it heartfelt? Did you take responsibility, and did you follow up with actions that supported your words? Ask yourself, how can I improve the way I apologize moving forward? Whether it's in your romantic relationships, with family and friends, or even your professional life, a sincere apology can strengthen your connections and help you grow. Take some time today to consider how you can make your apologies more meaningful, and remember, true growth comes from acknowledging mistakes and making the effort to do better. I hope you'll leave this episode with a deeper understanding of the power of a good apology and feel inspired to approach your relationships with more empathy and integrity. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Love Unfiltered. I hope you found valuable insights into better communicating with your party and with your partner. Thank you to my wonderful guests for joining me today.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Yes. And I want to give a little sneak peek into my next and final episode of the season. We'll be diving into the big question. Is moving in with your partner wise or bad? We'll explore the move-in milestone, what it means for relationships, the benefits, the challenges, and how to navigate the decision with clarity and confidence. If you're considering taking the next step or just curious about how living together can impact your relationship, you won't want to miss it. Be sure to tune in next week as we continue to unpack the complexities of love and connection. I'm Logan. Until then, take care and remember to prioritize your well-being and all your relationships.